Please remain seated.
Welcome back to another episode of Laugh Your Way to the Top podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Austin Fain, and joining me today is Mari Kuoch. You're not gonna, even if I said it wrong, you'll be like, "That's fucking straight, bro." You're like,
"You're good." Clutch.
Thanks. Today we're gonna talk about some roofing installations. We're gonna talk about what it takes to run a crew. We're gonna learn a little bit about Mari. Yeah, Mari, thanks for coming back tonight after a long day at work and
Thanks
talking
for having
with me.
me. Yeah.
So I know that you're a little bit nervous to try to convince you that it's just going to be a conversation between us boys. We all usually just sit at my desk and do this. We might as well do this in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So that someone else can get some kind of like use out of this, right? So like the whole point of this is that someone watches this and goes, "Oh yeah." So I was like, let's have an aha moment or two. Mari, what do you do for Perfect Steel Solutions?
So I run the roofing installation portion of Perfect Steel. So where the jobs get sold, they then turn into Ryan. Then Ryan is actually our sales manager, and it comes to me, and then I schedule the houses that get installed, coordinate with the customers, hire, train Perfect Steel roofers, all in-house, whereas that's why I'm here.
You do all the real man work.
Yeah. So
The heavy lifting of the company.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Just say it.
Yeah.
Just-
well,
Just say
it
you're
takes
better than the rest of them.
it takes a
Just
village
say
to
it.
get.
Say you're better than Ryan.
Nope.
They were like,
I don't want to go down
like,
that.
I won't even do it either.
Yep, won't do it.
Although I
Yeah.
did look at my last podcast, and mine was like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Turned out really good.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Ryan might be making it to me and Jimmy's podcast, me and Ryan's podcast doing well.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is number one now. This is gonna be the new number one. So you want to talk about what you fucking hate about this job?
Well, I mean, it's all.
It
it's
puts you on the spot
yeah.
now.
There's so many different areas that I hate and love at the same time. You know,
Let's talk about a little bit about your background. Try to set you up, but because I want to play with you because I know you're nervous. So I'm like, man, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. So how did I come to get you at Perfect Steel? Like, what did you do before this? Like, interesting background. You grew up in Fort Wayne, and that was kind of interesting work environment that you grew up in. And then how did you get to the job before this one?
to the job before this one, so I don't know where to begin.
Come on,
So,
man. Take us back to the old
old
donut shop.
donut
my
shop.
boy.
That's where I would. So my parents, they started out owning a piece of Tom's Donuts franchise, and grew up little kid, whereas most kids would have the childhood of going to the park and playing ball, and I did that. But my dad would show
You
up
did that,
every
but
day
you also
at 1:00 in the afternoon. Time to make the donuts because we would make it for tomorrow morning and all that good stuff. So 8 years old, man, I was
slanging.
I was slanging them. I was making them, like just learning the trade. So that was what
You knew how to make fresh made donuts by hand at 8 years old.
at 8 years old. Yeah, until I was old enough to lift the big old dough and put it on the table, roll them out. I mean, it was closer to driving age. So then I would be the one doing that, and it was fun. I get why they did that, but man, it seemed like that was the trajectory they chose for me.
Yeah, from 8 till
18.
8 to 18.
8 to 18.
Donuts were life. Bro.
It was life. And I said, you know what? I seen all my friends doing the fun stuff. They'd come pick me up at 11, 12 in the morning to go out and party high school. Just go out and do it. And, they stuck by my side. They knew what I had to do, and love them that we still hang out today. And they, it's cool. I keep really close tabs on my childhood friends like that. So, yeah.
Stay away from donuts now. You have enough donuts.
My dad still.
I don't see you eat that many donuts.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you hear the American kids say, I don't want to eat hamburgers and hot dogs because I was raised on it. Well, that was kind of my hamburgers and hot dog.
I just never noticed that. Like, as I think about when I asked you that, I'm like, I don't see Mari chowing down on any more donuts anymore.
I make whatever donuts I wanted to eat, and I ate them. So there's really no.
Why are you not like looking like me now and later on in life?
I don't know.
What's
There'll
your
be a
excuse?
time.
Why are you better than me, Mark?
I'm not.
Why are you better than me?
I'm a strictly steak
why
and
am I
potatoes.
350 pounds and why are you super ripped 40
I bet you your arteries are way more open than mine.
So you went slinging donuts and then
I hopped over
was it
to
college or was it
No, so I actually met some mutual friends, and they were starting up a mortgage company, and I wrote mortgages for a while, and you know, that was what I thought. Well, nope, back up. I started to work at Kelly's because I wanted a real job. I was like, I want a job, work for somebody, all that good stuff.
which was a car dealership?
Yep, car dealership, Kelly Automotive, and I was a car porter. Then I service wrote for the used car dealership, so all the used cars that came in, I inspected them, got them all set in. And I was like, yeah, this is, and you know what? I had a lot of folks in that industry that says you do not want to end up here.
Don't sell your soul to us.
Do not. And it was great advice. So found a different opportunity, write mortgages, made some great money. First 6 months in, I got into a car accident and broke my neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was going to come up. We told Jimmy's story about how he almost died of kidney failure. Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell your story of what happened there?
So I was running the lead out in Mishawaka, Elkhart area, and coming back home off 33 down towards Carroll Road. I think it was Madden. And it took me a while to get back towards there and actually cross that road. But I guess it jogged dogleg left. And I don't know if you know that there's a cemetery out there. Black ice caught the back end of my car, and I tumbled 3 or 4 times, and I got ejected and landed in the cemetery. Yeah. So after, I watched movies and always freaked out about, God, look at my feet. I knew I fucked something up.
Yeah.
Like, I was found by a trooper that I was laying on my side, and I just felt like I just got knocked out. I was on my side, and I could wiggle my feet. That's all I had faith and hope on. I wiggle my feet. He's like, just don't go back to sleep. Wake up back in the ambulance. They're cutting all my stuff open, and black out again. Wake up, flat bed or whatever. Felt like this. They're like, you broke your neck, man. I was like, cool, but I can still feel my feet. That's all I cared about. I knew I wasn't paralyzed. That's all I cared about. Could have been. So in the morning, they woke me up and put me in a halo. They're like, you're going to get put in a halo. All right, fine. I broke C2 and fractured C6. So C2 is the pivotal bone that's right behind C1, which is right at the skull. And C2 is the same bone that Christopher Reeves broke. And I was like, man, very fortunate to be alive right now. So it's fractured, and essentially it was my...
Like, so C1, C2, that's pretty close to your...
Yeah, and the
skull.
X-ray, every X-ray that they had, my skull to my neck was like this. So freaky.
So all this was just messed up.
I didn't grasp the concept until like later on. They're like, wear it for 3 months. Let's see if it'll heal. You're young. You should be able to do that. Same old song and dance. But come down to 3 months, it didn't grow back. Option A or B. A, go through a 4-hour surgery, take a piece out of your hip, throw it in there, fuse it together. We could mess up and you could be paralyzed for the rest of your life. Or wear this halo for the rest of your life. Mind you, for this 3 months, I slept sitting up the entire time.
That's got to be the worst.
It sucked. Like, my mom made it comfortable. I was moved out at the time. I moved back in. They made like a pillow fortress for my back. I felt like I was sitting on a throne. That's how I slept. Halo, if you try to track your head together and try to turn, that's how it felt like. You couldn't move anything. I felt like all the muscles in my neck were just completely torn to bits because the ride home was the most excruciating to ride home.
Every little bump.
You don't think about how much you brace your neck as if you're just sitting still and something happens, you hiccup or whatever. Well, it hurts. So fast forward to 7 months, I believe. I decided on the surgery. It took me 2 weeks to decide because I was really contemplating on wearing this halo for the rest of my life. It's like, I didn't know. I was 20 years old. No idea what to do with the rest of my life. And did the surgery, came out great.
Yeah,
now
you just have a
let's
little scar
recover.
on the back of your
Yep,
neck. And
just a big old slit. And
honestly, good head movement and everything's good.
doctor said, and I got out a week before my 21st birthday. So it was go time. So I had a different appreciation for life. So I went out and just, man, I could die tomorrow. Let's go. And it was just, that was like that all the time. And I always had that attitude of just like, we're all equal here. We're human. No one's better than the next person. We can die tomorrow. That's kind of how my motto was coming through in my 20s. But it was interesting. I had a lot of friends that just would sit down like, hey, man, at least you did like get into a car wreck and almost face death. Like, just be lucky for that. So my gratitude was a little higher than most people at that time. Yeah, that's. The doctor said I couldn't do anything. We weren't allowed to go. Well, I was a big Laker at the time, so we'd go wakeboarding, skiing,
Did
tubing.
you really? I didn't know that.
Yep. So, childhood best friends, just that's their parents. Were like my second parents, and they we went up to the lake every weekend. Would go to the lake Friday night, come home Monday morning, just in time for school, and that was awesome. It's just a whole different way of life. Everybody was just there to, get away from the city, and it was cool. It was really cool. Everybody had common interests of just having a good time and getting to know everybody. So I was very fortunate to have that.
So what was your first job after you got New Lease on Life?
Oh yeah, that was a good. So now after the mortgage thing, I went into Centennial, which, man, Centennial, I don't want to sound conceited or whatever. They bred some studs. Like everybody that has worked at Centennial Wireless that has done well, they bred some studs. There's a lot of people that came out of it,
So cell phone sales then?
cell phone sales. Centennial Wireless. I can't put the number on it. I know they were trying to sell it for $900 million. Obviously it didn't go, but I think it went for $90 million to AT&T. So they just bought the footprint and the subscribers so they can actually rival, Verizon. But after that, they got bought over and, went into the wireless sales side. And, I thrived in the sales side. I was really proficient in what I did, and I enjoyed it. I connected with the customers really well. And
Yeah, you're a likable guy.
yeah, I'd like to think so.
Yeah, you're a likable guy.
So yeah, just then moving into management, and it's like, hey, you should do
Ruins
this. And then-
everything when
oh
you're a
my
manager.
gosh.
It's so free and
Takes
easy
the
when you're
fun
employed.
takes the fun out of doing what the job's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no, every time. And every time I try to explain to people, like, when you move into management, you're one step closer to the door almost always, especially in corporate America. You can have bad months when you're a rep. You can have bad months if you're a low-level employee. Like, it doesn't matter. You have a couple bad months as a manager, they're looking for somebody else. They're looking for the next stud to come by there and take over.
Exactly.
That's what they want. And we talked about on the one podcast how I got Jimmy out of there because, like, at some point, it's not going to be your fault, even all the time. It can be your fault, but like they're just gonna. There's somebody coming for you.
Yeah.
All the time. As much as you think you might carve out a spot, like, I mean, they got you by the balls at that point.
Yeah.
So they're really successful. I think that's how you met your girl. Was there, and she ran shit as well.
Yeah, she did really well. We thrived off each other, and it was good. And I think that's what grew that level of attraction, that like common interests, like just trying to grow.
She could run shit. Like
Yeah,
you were
she
running
ran shit.
Yeah, that's tight. So,
Yeah.
Shout out Tiffany.
Yeah, and we're still together today.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
and then you took that knowledge. She left first, so I'm not mistaken. She left first to go do something else, and then you left and went to.
it was almost at the same. I think me first. Almost, it was me first.
I remember talking to you, but I don't remember.
So at that time, she accepted the role as a DM, and then I shifted so many different positions, trying to be overseeing stores, training to. I think before I left, I was overseeing 200 units in Indy, like all the apartment complexes for like wire, AT&T, home, phone, satellite, all that good stuff. I was overseeing all that. And then, Tiffany really felt like the glow of wanting to do something else. But
Yeah.
she took on this new role. So she's like, this is secure, this is whatever. And, you know, she was really passionate about it. And, you know, she was going to school at the same time. So,
I don't remember that.
oh, yeah. So an entire year, she would go, as soon as she left the DM job running all 11 stores, would go to school from 5 to 10 every night to get her esthetician license.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in order to do that, and then, you know, it just kind of snowballed into her acquiring the spot in Huntington, and, you know, now it's 9 booths of either hairdressers or nail techs or whatever. Been going on for quite some time now. So she left AT&T for this to pursue. Then I went into advertising, just kind of shifted a little bit of the responsibilities to stay at home because it allowed me to stay at home. Some people are different in the way of wanting to stay at home and being away from people. I realized, and we met the beginning stages of me taking on that role.
Yeah.
It was cool at first. Sounded cool.
I knew about you before then,
Uh-huh.
but we had never connected until I met you at the cigar bar
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Yep.
And you were thugging away on a computer, and we were smoking cigars and stuff, and you had just gotten that stuff, and you did well. Did really well at the Comcast, was it?
Yep, Comcast.
You did really well at the advertisement spot at Comcast.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's the people that I connected with. I learned a lot, just how people thought about, you know, gravitating to finding their people that they want to serve, and just, I don't know. It was a whole nother level of advertising. Usually, what we did in the AT&T world, it was guerrilla marketing. We just ground and pound. That was it. We got the people, we sold them. That was it. Next. Here it was more of long term, just try to build the business and grow. But I realized, man, and it was at the midst of COVID too. So everything kind of started to get slippery as far as people hesitating to move forward and kind of going along with how the ebbs and flow of society is.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. No one wanted to make a move unless someone else made a move. And that hurt the sales side as far as like, is this worth it? You know what I mean? I started to ask that, and then we couldn't go anywhere. Conducting business over the phone it's hard. It's hard.
And then I think there was, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think there was a little bit, like we tried to do some work, and there was a little bit of, it's not the right product for everybody.
Correct.
You're trying to sell everybody, but it was like commercial space, so like being on commercials and stuff like that. It was the digital, so like you said, they had deals with like Hulu or whatever and all that kind of stuff.
Streaming services and
Streaming
stuff.
services and stuff like that. And you were finding out slowly that that maybe it wasn't the right option for everybody. Can you give us some examples of like why, or some things that you saw when doing advertising, that commercial space, either on TV, or like what's the best, if you're in the business, like what are the best things to do if you're going to be on TV and do those commercials and streaming service stuff? Like, can you give like the go do this if you're this, don't do this if you're this sort of deal? Because I mean, like, you knew all that.
It's one of those things.
It worked for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it didn't work for a lot of people.
The people that are still in the game are like the people like the lawyers in town. You know who they are. They've been in it. It's a long-term game. It's one of those that if you want instant results, the commercial space is really hard. It's more of a brand acknowledgement. Like, why would anybody choose Perfect Steel out of the blue?
Right.
Like, it's either referrals, or it's either us coming to you, finding you, or obviously we're the largest rated company in the tri-state area, and there's a reason why. They gravitate towards that. So I feel Perfect Steel has done a great job of making sure they let people tell the other people how well we did.
Yeah.
And it's hard for the other people to gravitate towards that. They just want to be able to go, hey, Flashbang, come see us, with no background.
So if I own a donut shop and I want to do that, you would suggest it, yes or no?
Long-term game, yeah. And not to put all your chips in it. Put a little bit in it, just so they're brand acknowledgement, because obviously we're not the only roofing company,
right,
or the only donut shop.
So if you got the extra scratch, come off of it on a low end tier,
yes,
and just trickle that forever.
So I would probably see if it's working within 6 months,
Okay,
and then
6 months is your
evaluate,
thing.
and then move
So
forward.
if you're gonna put money into that from Mari, who sold it, 6 months, if you're not seeing results, and you're probably not gonna get your money back, sort of deal, like the amount of money you put in, depending on what business you're in. But 6 months, if you're starting to gain some tread, then maybe pursue that, double down, things
Yeah,
like that.
and I think it goes along with any business that you try to sell or position or whatever. You got to know who your audience is. If you're just kind of going for the masses, then it's going to be slippery slope. But if you know who your direct target is, if you're going for, just single, like, household income, or, baby boomers to whoever, depends if you have ones that are if you're looking for shop for discretional income families, who knows? But it's more of flourishing families is the big ticket if you wanted to do for a donut shop, because you
Okay.
obviously want to
Right.
focus
More
on
mouths
those
to feed.
folks. Yeah.
More mouths to
So just like roofing, most of the folks or I seen this the other day. Someone made fun of them getting funeral home ads. It's like, yeah, but I know that you're not going to go, but you're the person that's going to be shopping for that. So they made fun of it.
Oh, because like they're
They're
getting
targeting people my age, because obviously we're going to be shopping going
for
forward.
old dad
So
and mom.
yeah, not to think about that stuff, but they're smart about that stuff. The people that are marketing, they're not looking for you to plan your own stuff. It's for you to plan for your next generation,
Yeah.
or your generation ahead of you, if you will.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's the smart marketing that just kind of gets into your brain, and you think about it and you remember it. So
What's your favorite part about that job?
meeting all the people and getting how they plan their business out. And a lot of folks, they plan for the year, and some don't know what's going to happen in the next month. Like, it's crazy to see how many folks just want instant results.
Yeah.
And it's not in it for the long game.
Yeah.
The long game's important. And if you don't have that strategy laid out, something messes up in the first month, everything falls apart. And it's really something you got to think about why. And that's why I was fortunate enough to be in there and ask the right questions and put them up and set them up in the way of they can build the trust, and like, hey man, okay, you are thinking about my future and what it's going to affect me and all that good stuff. So yeah, I appreciated that side of it.
Cool. And then you went from that to, I'd bring you over to the dark side, to the dirty old roofing game. I know that the way when we started out, I was looking to do in-house. I wanted to be different than everyone else that was putting on roofs with subcontractors. And I felt like that just was always not the best option. It's the easiest option. It's the most readily available, cost-efficient option. But again, you talked about longevity. Is like the longevity is such a hard game when you're betting with other people's money. So I wanted to bring something. I didn't know how to do it. Did not have the time to do it myself. And you were in the process of like, okay, the shop's up and running for your girl, and we're like, all right, so we're gonna make another move. And we talked about like, what if I could give you a business that would have unlimited jobs to install? You know, you would never run out of business. And you're like, I'm interested. So how did I steal you over from there?
It was something that I was looking to find, like, I guess, a better opportunity. You know, I think the pivotal point was me in the pool at 80 degrees on my laptop, absolutely miserable. Just didn't find the gratitude of, or fulfillment of, getting the job done or getting stuff done. You know, in the midst of that too, Tiffany and her mom opened up a boutique store and like gathered some home remodels, and it wound up.
You got handy real quick.
I got handy real quick.
You got handy real quick.
That's where it was. And
you
then
got handy real quick.
I felt like there was a purpose to that, because every time I was done with the job, I was like, dude, I did that.
And you came and showed it off to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, uh-oh.
This is, I figured it out.
This dude's
This
got
is
some
awesome.
skills.
Yeah. So, and that fulfillment, I felt like there was a different level of fulfillment after every job that I finished. And I figured it out, I'm like, this is awesome. So I started doing more research on how to do things craftier, more efficient. And it just, I don't know. And growing up, I always thought, you know, I was always bred into, or people would tell me, work harder, not smarter. But I don't think I really knew what that meant. You know what I mean? It's just you want to kind of be in the corporate world or just use your brain or not be physical and all that stuff. But man, that takes away from a lot of what the future is going to hold. I mean, like people are losing the whole handy, crafty, just using their hands to build stuff because everything in this room was built by hand. And if we don't have any more of those people, we don't have any more of the stuff.
It's less nowadays.
Yeah, it
we talk
is.
about all the time when we go hire roofers and stuff like that. That the pool for the wanting to go in and do that. I feel like it was more back in the day. Like the people looked forward to being like, you know what, I want to build cabinets, or I want to be a plumber, or I want to do all that kind of stuff. And nowadays, those kids are few and far between. It's mostly the country kids that want to go do that stuff. And so it makes it harder for us. We're fighting over such a small pool of people that want to get out there and make a name for themselves with their hands. Get dirty.
Yeah, and I found a different level of fulfillment when you presented that to me. I was like, you know what? I felt great after every job I've done. Like, why not? Let's go for it. And here we are.
Why not kind of work for yourself?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how we have it set up.
Exactly.
You know, is like, hey, I'll take care of you. And then if you do well, it'll be
take
awesome.
care of everybody. Yeah.
It'll take care of everybody. And so I had you go shadow my best guy for
8 months, I want to say.
It was 8 months.
Close
A
to 8
year,
months. Yeah,
year.
8 months a year.
And you worked right alongside.
Yeah, I felt like undercover boss. It was hilarious.
Dude, it did feel like undercover boss.
Yeah, and the guys, after like the first month, his guys were like, "What are you really here for?" And it was hilarious.
Because you're out working, even like the hardest working guys.
Because let's see, one of their main guys, his brother, was like, "Man, I've been here for 2 years. You're just picking up." It's like I have a lot to gain out of this.
Different.
So I have a lot to gain, and I had an objective. Whereas most people, they go into it, they're like, "Well, I'm gonna get the same pay no matter what at the end of the day or week." I had a timeline to make sure I knew what I was doing at the end of the day or at the end of the year, month, whatever. So it was important to me to know everything that I had to know and show that I could do it. Because if I screwed up, what a better company to have than to screw up in front of the guys that are teaching you.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. It was fun. I see what those guys go through, and I know what to expect going forward. They do work a lot. It's obviously a different culture with them, but it's something that I got to learn how to mesh together with today's culture.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest hurdle right now, is trying to get them to understand what's in it for them, why do it, what's the why, I guess.
What's the benefits out of your mouth that 1099 versus in-house crews when it comes to doing construction projects?
So why we would choose our people versus the subs?
Either way, why is it better for you have 1099? Why is it better, to have in-house crews?
Better to have in-house crews because that I feel that I've seen, and even just by instance, we play along with what the company offers. Like we got our warranties, we got our promise guarantees, all that good stuff. The service stays consistent. Whereas a lot of the subcontractors we see in any line of business, you got even home builders.
Right.
You come do your stuff, they're gone. We got a problem, they're gone. So in order for us to fulfill the promise, the guarantee, and our warranties, we have to have in-house people to be able to facilitate that. And I feel like that is valuable in its own degree. And then outside of that, the 1099 they do good work, but they only go to that far. Reliability and consistency, it just goes all out the window. And we see that. You can call any 1099 guy and they'll come in and be hot for like a month. Second month, they're crap in the bed. They're, getting comfortable. They're doing stuff that it's not up to quality. And luckily, I was in place at the time and I was able to kind of steer them back into the straight and narrow, which they had a lot of services that I had to go fix and do and keep the customer happy with us to the end. So it was tough. And having that showed my guys what it took to make sure we did a great job and stayed consistent. Because if, we kept those 1099 guys on and kept going, we'd be just cleaning up messes and getting that used car not mentality, the stereotype, the used car stereotype. I mean, you got one bad egg that ruined it for everybody. Not saying the used car guys are bad, but one bad group made it bad for everybody. And it's hard to compete against those masses.
So what were your biggest struggles when starting the group? Because we came out with Bright Eyes, and we're like, this is going to be the greatest, easiest thing we've ever done. What are some things that when we got into it, the nitty gritty, what are some things that we found initially very, very difficult? What are the hurdles if you're going to start your own roofing crew? What are the hurdles?
The biggest hurdle.
Take money out of it because, if you're going to have a roofing crew, you better have a lot of dough to start it because you're going to lose money. Mm-hmm. It's not.
You got to be able to accept that too.
You got to be able to accept at a certain point in time. In any business that you have, if you're going to be in lawn care, I talked to my guy who takes care of the properties, and I go, why are you still just doing this by yourself? He makes like $100,000 a year doing it, but I'm like, man, dude, it's just you mowing, 57 accounts or however many he's got.
What's your end
I'm
game,
like, bro? Like, how do you go on vacation? How do you just lose money and you piss people off when you go? He's like, I can't find anybody to train and do all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, how much you paying? He's like, a lot. And he still can't find anybody to do that stuff. So that was real eye-opening to me after we started this, because I'm like, oh, that was kind of like our general thing. Like, even if you have willing bodies at the beginning, it's tough to make something happen when you want to start doing more in-house stuff. Like, it'd be easy to go find another mowing company and be like, do you want 10 of these yards, blah, blah, blah. And so, I think about that all the time in all these different businesses, like whether you're a welding manufacturing company or something like that. Outsourcing it solves one problem, and it makes many more problems. I like to think that my dad did manufacturing for a long time and still does it. And whenever we would outsource something, it was never as good as it was in-house. It would be passable most of the time, but it wouldn't exceed quality aspects and stuff. Anything you do, if you have any pride in your business or anything like that, it will never exceed what you do in-house, usually. Like, if you work in a kitchen and you make your desserts by hand, they're almost always better than what you can buy at GFS or absolutely. Whatever. They're almost always better.
It's all quantity versus quality.
Exactly. It solves the problem where you don't have to spend all day making desserts. We get that. And I understand that aspect being in this business and where we are now. But it also creates other problems that you don't normally think about. So what were some of the problems? I know we kind of just talked about it, but what were the problems with starting this up?
I guess setting the expectation for the wrong people. And that is... I've hired and fired a lot of people in the sales side, and sales is sales. Like, you get a lot of folks that are experienced, you get a lot of folks that are new to the game. It was easy to do because different things were implemented as far as we had a big hiring pool. We had a way of, coaching them into progression and then letting them go if they didn't make it. We didn't have that luxury as far as the amount of people we can go through. I think my first hiring class was 3.
Yeah.
And with that attitude going into it, it's like, I got to make these 3 work. I don't have a way to get around it. So, they were scared and timid. They walked like baby giraffes on the ladder on a 2-foot stretch. I couldn't completely buy in until I seen them walk and do all that stuff. So I had to go through baby steps and teach them how to do that. So I was really training them from the ground up. And essentially I was training, and still to this day, boys to actually young men.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah. And it's very difficult, especially this social climate. It's just, everybody's got a different expectations, get rich quick, what's hard work, all that good stuff. There's a lot of things that play factor into how people perceive what work is nowadays. You know what I mean? There's people don't hear about sweat equity anymore. It's all about okay, what's the end of the day going to look like, and where am I going to go drink at? It's just, and granted, that was our thing back then too, but we worked hard. I felt like we did.
I feel like the jobs that I had, that it was always, I liked having jobs where the harder I worked, the more I got paid. You know, I was never like you, where I could work in a car dealership or a donut shop or any of those that would pay the same hourly rate as everybody else, because that just drove me nuts. When I got into the restaurant game, I loved it.
Yeah.
Because
Tips.
Yeah. I mean, it was really just we working for tips, and like it made me go. Right. That's a general thing. Like it sucks to be locked into a business, wherever you work. Like if you work at Subway, I mean, they just started doing tips at Subway, which I think is hilarious.
Crazy.
I think it's hilarious.
You see,
Good.
Starbucks does it.
They deserve
Starbucks
it,
do it, but Starbucks takes a cut first. Then they divvy it out. It's
They
crazy.
do. It's nuts. But like, you're gonna if you make sandwiches like a motherfucker. Like if you're like the best at making sandwiches,
Rain Man at
you
the
get the
Bologna's.
same $10 an hour. If you Rain Man that thing and you're just slicing pepperonis and like cracking jokes to people, it pays the exact same, and that would just to no end frustrate me.
Yeah, and people
If you
are
have
smart
any
to
kind
realize that.
Yeah, if you have any kind of ethic or talent for anything that you do, go somewhere where it pays you to excel.
Harness your skill and move
Yeah,
forward.
I mean, and that's just I mean, I really do love the restaurant business. Everyone thinks that like you shouldn't have to rely on tips and do all this stuff. They should be paid a regular wage, and I don't care. I never bitched about that ever.
I feel like every first job that anybody has should revolve around the customer service, restaurant,
Yes.
anything, because of the social.
I say not even the first one. You must at some point in your life work in some kind of restaurant service. Whether it's a hotel or a restaurant, it's something customer relations. Yeah,
anything.
hospitality.
Yep.
That's the word I was looking for. Hospitality. Something in there. Does a lot of things. Think on your feet, which is huge because you never have the same day twice.
Yeah.
If you work in a restaurant, busy, fast, big tables, small tables, different personalities every half hour. That really teaches you how to mesh with the general public and how to appease many different people and the level of service that they demand. Because we found that out too. Like, different people require different levels of service. There's some people out there, if you do a good job on the roof, but you don't talk to them and you don't explain everything that you did and you don't walk them through that every step of the way, then they don't feel like they got good service.
They want that red carpet.
They want the red carpet thing. They want you to be like, this is what we did. We saw that you had a loose pipe boo out there. We went and reconnected it, blah, blah, blah. And, your flashing was deteriorating on this side. We went ahead and did all that kind of stuff, and then we laid, your roof wasn't straight in this part, so we furred it up a little bit. So now you have nice straight lines, blah, blah. You have better water flow. They want all that. You can do all that stuff, and they still be upset that you didn't tell them, exactly what you did and why it was good for them, and I think that's where you excel at, is that while you do have the work ethic to go out there and smash roofs and go get roofs done, on the other hand, like when it comes to customers, I would argue there's no one in the industry that's a roofing installer that has the amount of people skills that you have.
I love people.
Yeah.
Well, being
You're
around,
great
I
with
just
people.
gravitate to any personality, and I know what we go through as far as the canvassing side, the sales side, the going through and getting the doc signed. I know what the customers experience are leading up to my point. For us to come in and just put the roofs on and go away, I feel like it's doing a disservice by not.
You bring up such a good point.
You
bring up such a good point. For years, I would have subcontractors do the work. And they would do a good job most of the time, but when they dropped the ball, they dropped the ball. And that came out of my pocket, and I paid for it. And I'm okay with it, because that's what I had at the time. But there was so much work leading up to the install. These jobs didn't drop in our lab. We went out and found these customers. Then we convinced them that we were the best option. And then we either bought our metal at one point or made our metal in here. And we had SDI supply the metal and unload it off of a huge truck and then break it down and roll form it and then make all the custom parts for it. People went out and measured. Docs got signed. Office people did their stuff in there, and we delivered it on timely fashion. All that stuff. To then roofers shit the bed. It was so disheartening.
Yeah, I agree.
And they acted like, well, there's more, so let's not cut up on this one. No, that's such a wrong mentality. Every single customer is a unicorn. Act like that's the last customer you're ever going to have, and they're going to tell everyone. And that was so. I got so frustrated, and that's kind of how we and you came to be. Is that we just couldn't take it. I could not take it anymore.
I don't blame you.
I couldn't take it anymore. In-house installing, whether it be more efficient or more cost-effective, irregardless of all that, you sell a certain level of service, and you got to have that. So I would heavily recommend that everyone. I mean, if you follow Dimitri, he's got Roofing Insights on YouTube, and he goes into a lot. Or if you're a subcontractor, start your roofing company. If you're worth your salt, start your own roofing company. Don't work for the next guy. If you can't live up to their promises, go and do your own thing and promise different stuff. If like, hey, you're gonna get mid-level service, mid-level quality, and mid-level warranties, but it's gonna be a whole lot cheap. Do that then. If that's your game, when I can't in good faith go out and sell customers being like, these are the best guys, and we will guarantee that this work will be amazing and all this stuff. Just to have a stranger come in and do the roof, it's just so disheartening. And I really got a good sense of feeling for the last 2 years of doing our houses in-house. Like it feels better.
You don't have that buyer's remorse feeling when you have that. I feel that sometimes when we hired a subcontractor to get us caught up because we were going through another rebuilding season of roofers and we needed the help, and I felt like I was doing double the duty because I was bouncing back and forth making sure they did good. They do good.
Let's break that down. I mean, I want to talk about it. I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but I guess it's a good thing to talk about. The bad stuff that happens. Everyone talks about roofing and how great it is and you can make money and blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about when it doesn't go good. So I got behind 130 some odd jobs, which is a bunch, and hired a subcontractor to help us out and catch us up. Dude, been doing it for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Had a whole crew, very highly rated, blah, blah, blah. And we did way more work fixing the mistakes that he made than we ever saved by having him do roofs.
3-to-1. 3-to-1 ratio, I felt.
3 bad ones for every one good one he did?
3 good ones, 1 bad one.
I don't think so.
And he did a lot. He did I want to say about 60 of them. Well, maybe it's...
Oh, my God. I don't think it was that many. I think he did 30 and 15, 16 of them.
That could be.
It felt like more because you were at his jobs more.
It could be.
I don't think I gave him that many because we found out within 2 months that it was not happening.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad.
Yeah, I could find out for sure later on. But, no, it was a lot. All I know, it was a lot. We had one almost every other day to fix, and
we didn't catch up. At the end of the day, we didn't catch up because we were literally spending our capital on doing that.
Agreed. Whereas we could have fed our own people.
Been farther along for sure.
Correct. And I think the time that we could have took and told the customers, say, hey, we're, extremely busy at the moment, just please be patient, all that good stuff. I think that would have went a lot further than trying to fix that remedy by hiring a sub. You know what I mean? And I felt like we would have done more justice and less harm to the business as far as that area goes by just doing that. And I've been around you when you're doing can saves and everything. You're the most genuine, honest person when it comes to that. There's no sugarcoating, no bullshit. If there's something to be said, whether it's good, bad, ugly, it's said. And that's what I think a lot of people appreciate about you being at the helm. Just, it goes a long way. Everybody sees it, everybody follows, and that is very important when you're leading anything business-wise, roofing company. You got to be true and honest to what you're doing. There's no hiring people just to be your minions. That's not, people sniff on that real quick, and all my guys do that too. They know how genuine you are and they appreciate it, and they know that we got something to lose if we don't keep it up. So it's much appreciated. So
I agree. I agree. Like, people don't want to be jerked around.
No.
You know, especially with a giant investment.
There's so many scammers out there that everybody's on their toes.
Everybody's on their toes.
Can't even get a call without going, I'm going to get screwed.
Exactly. So what are some of and we go back to the same thing. What's the, when you started this and you're like, okay, I'm trained. I know most everything about metal roofing, yada, yada, yada. How do we come out the gate?
It was very bad as far as just the learning side of it. I held on to people too long. The biggest thing that I've learned, and I think it's something that's practiced often too. You keep your pool up, you hire slow, you fire fast.
Yeah.
You realize that they're not going to be there. There's some people that grow as cancers and they ruin the whole team that you built the whole entire year for. You hire fast. Don't care. Like, as much as you try to buy in and get them to, fall into what we believe in, what we're here to do, achieve, a lot of those folks are short-term gain people. Like, they just want to see it now. They don't care. You got to recognize that out of the gate. If they're here to be long-term and they're trying to fulfill a different life that they've, never lived, which is a lot of them that I run into, they want to have a better opportunity, a better life. And how
do you spot those people, Mari, when you're going to hire those people? The mistakes that we've made.
Mm-hmm.
How do you? If I'm going to go on Indeed, I'm going to hire some people. What are some things that that you look for on a resume that will give you key indicators that they probably are not the greatest? Broad spectrum, obviously.
It's really hard. It's really hard because I've had a lot of guys that jump ship quicker than you could blink and change the page, and some of them are good for that, because I have one guy that he's never held a job longer than 3 months, but he's one of my best guys, and he absolutely loves this job, absolutely loves it. And it's just, you really got to get to know him and get him here and kind of understand what their life is like, what their life has been. And it's a deeper dive than just hiring him and let him work. You really got to understand him. It's a different day and age. Used to be just like, hey, hire in. If you don't show up, you're gone. 1 point, peace out. Now it's a little different. You really have to, it sucks, but you have to do it. You have to put on those kitten mittens and just work these folks to where they understand what we're in it for, and have to reiterate it every time, because I got a couple people that, get freaked out if they don't hear from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talked about that a lot with Jimmy. Like,
yeah.
If they go a couple of days without talking to him, you're like, oh, am I going to get fired?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the communication's so real, and there's such a connection built between those two people and that structure that if they don't hear something in a certain amount of time, they're like, oh, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it works along with like true friends. You and I talked about this. You and Jimmy can go out 2 weeks without talking, and then pick it up 2 weeks later like nothing ever happened, because you guys got your own shit going on. There's no crazy insecurities going on. Is he hanging out with somebody else? Whatever. It's the
exact
there.
opposite of a woman relationship.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's to be determined still.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But that's kind of the thing, man. Like, I've tried to set the right expectation on, like, hey man, if you need me to be there all the time, then you are not the right person for us. And it's one of those things to where I want to be able to create multiple groups, multiple entities for us to grow. And if you need a babysitter, then we're not a good fit.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
To a certain
extent, we'll
there's some people that need us.
You grow up. We'll make you grow up, but you gotta want it.
You gotta want it.
You gotta want it.
And
I think that through our time together, we've met some really cool mofos. Like, we got some studs.
We do. Some good-hearted studs.
Dude, good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you think of roofing, and I've said this on different episodes too, it's like you think of roofers being like shirtless meth heads, smoking cigarettes on top of a roof, jamming out to AC/DC. I mean, that's a general thing that you feel like you're going to see when you get a roof.
So volatile.
We can't be so different than that.
Yeah.
I mean, either our guys are wearing polos or whatever company gear, and we're showing up and we're being proficient. We show up in a nice big box truck. Everyone pulls out. we get the jobs mostly done in a day, and we clean up real nice afterwards and have respect for the property. And the only way that when they get home from work that they know that we were there in the first place is they have a brand new metal roof.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I love
that is
that.
what I strive for. I think that's what you strive for as well, is meeting that level of expectation.
Absolutely. It make it seamless, and that's always how every level of business should be conducted. Seamless. If it is by any means, setbacks and all that stuff, that means you didn't have your shit together. That customers see that. You know what I mean? We were very reputable out of the gate.
Out of the gate, we had a great name.
Yeah. Like only to shit the bed in the middle, but if you can get to it before they notice it before you do, as in if there was a mistake on the roof and we go, hey, there's a mistake, we got to order a piece of metal, we're ahead of it, they appreciate it more than them noticing it before we do. And I instill that in every one of our reps. We all make mistakes.
Could you say that how you start is less important than how you finish? How you finish is way more important than how you start.
Yeah, I agree.
I would always say that.
I would agree, because at the end, it's the result, regardless. The result is what you ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you got there. It can be ugly however you get there. But if you finish perfect, it's still perfect.
I agree, because that's what you have to live with.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I never thought about that. Like, you have to sleep at night.
No one ever talks about how you started.
No one does.
No one.
Very, very, very little bit. Unless you become a legend. If you're Michael Jordan, people talk about how you started.
Correct, because they can compare, like, dude, there are failures. He's human.
Yeah.
Like, he was short, and that's why he didn't get picked up. Only to see him be one of the best basketball players of all time. It makes people relate to it. Like, hey, man, I can shit the bed and still do okay.
Yeah. You just gotta
Or be great.
You gotta finish strong.
Finish strong.
You gotta finish strong. What do you think is the favorite part of what you do? Besides just be handsome and wear company gear and smooth customers.
My biggest takeaway from it, and it's fulfilling, is seeing my guys thrive. I do. Like, everything will fall into place, for what everything's set up for us to succeed. I feel like the most important part is watching my guys thrive and enjoy the culture and go from there. I mean, it sounds, fluff and all that good stuff, but really I do, because anybody can go out and hire whatever to get the job done. I can get the job done by hiring subs, whatever, but seeing my guys thrive and enjoy what they do, it warms my heart, because the days that I call on for rain days, they call and text me and say, hey, can we hang out anyways?
Yeah, I think I
love that.
I talk about a lot of that in the interviews. I'm not sure if I talked about it before. Is like when I preach culture, I knew that we finally reached a point where the culture was so good that I could hang my hat on it. Is that even on the days where I had a little bit during COVID, and definitely now that I have my in-house crews, if it rains, if for some reason we can't go out, whatever, they'd rather come in here and hang out as a team.
Absolutely.
And play cornhole.
I love
it. And drink a few beers and laugh than go home.
Yeah, they enjoy each other's company, which I thrive on doing.
There's not, I can't tell you how few businesses, if ever, I ever wanted to go in and just be like, yeah, I know that I'm not going to make any money today, but I just want to be here. I can't tell
That's
you.
a hard pill to swallow for anybody.
I can't tell you there can't be that many jobs out there that make you feel like that. I imagine maybe if you're like a teacher and you really love teaching or something, and you want to do some after school like tutoring or something like that. I don't know of very many jobs that are like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be at, and it would suck if I wasn't here anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And I look for those things to make them understand what we're in it for. You know what I mean? If we can't go through the process and not enjoy each other's company, no point.
How many people do you think you hire at a time that actually make it in your field?
It's tough. It's hit all over the place. The number before was at 50%. I guess, attachment or close or success rate. Like for every 4 people I hired, I got 2. The last class was tough. It was tough. It was one of those that I knew to cut bait faster than what I should have because of the crew that I have currently or in play that's running it, and I know that I am confident that I don't have to be there, which is great. They've helped me do this in a better fashion to not only protect us but to protect them, because I'm a huge advocate on making sure that you have the right teammates, and if you don't mesh well, you won't ever mesh well.
The team is always more
It's
important
huge.
than
It's
the
huge.
best guy.
Yeah.
I tried to explain that to the sales manager a long time ago when he's like, what is your idea of like why you do things like this? Why is the company set up this way? And I had to like break it down with them numbers, because sales managers only really, care about numbers. I'm like, listen, the best guy, if you do everything to please him and you forget about the rest of the team, you'll be so much more less successful than worrying about the team and not worry about that one guy. The team will always do better and more than any one person can ever do. 5 of the worst people you've ever had will still do more than the number 1 person.
Agreed.
It's just
It's
a numbers game.
It's a numbers
It's
game.
just
Yep.
a numbers game. You have to take care of everyone in a whole and make everyone feel welcome. And I think we do a really good job of that here. And I think that's why a little secret of success is like, you got to do the extra. People talk about when you do extra. People appreciate the extra. If you're doing what you think is sufficient, that's not enough.
No.
It's not enough. If you're like, I bet they're cool with 1 lunch a week, or I bet they're cool with, I took them to mini golf one time, or I bet they're cool with end of the year bonuses of $100, or that's not enough. If you think that's sufficient, I can promise you it's probably not enough.
It goes along with a lot of things to where, like, if you have to justify it, it's probably not.
Yeah, no, that's a good way. If you have justified to yourself, it's probably not enough.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people doing that. It's the justification is like, oh, we did good. No, if you have to justify it, you kind of weeded out all the bad stuff or the things you should have paid attention to, only to make the one thing make sense.
Yeah. Talk about how maybe the other companies try to show you appreciation, and then how you show your guys appreciation. Let's
Yeah.
do that.
It's more personable. They did it by the masses, and Centennial was one of the ones that did it right. They did the top 10% out of the company and took them out and did their thing, and every person learned everybody's name individually, which I know it's hard to do, but at the same time, you felt important. Here, well, transitioning to here, it felt like I had the opportunity to change the way they did it, because different places in between Centennial, it was by the masses. It was like, hey, here's a trip to Mexico. Have fun. Yeah, we appreciate it, but we're still a number. And a lot of the folks
And
that
if you didn't get the trip to Mexico, you were the number that didn't count.
Yeah, so it's either like, okay, cool, I made it just enough to enjoy a free trip. Cool. I'm going to take it and run. I don't know the president. I don't know anybody. Whatever. They won't even know I'm here. So, like, a couple things that I try to change while I'm here. I want to be the person that gives advice to where I wish I had when I was at their age, or even just, seeing what to look for. Because a lot of these guys, they didn't have the best upbringing. They didn't have the best opportunities. They're just now figuring it out right now. And, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So I always tell that to them. Like, I'm not the pinnacle of whatever you think it is. I'm still trying to figure it out together. So let's do it together. So I don't ever leave them out of the growth of what we're here to do. And I think they appreciate that a lot, because it makes me equal and human to them. And
What do you do? What do you do with your group that makes it different than where
So-
you worked at before?
So, on days that I know that they're having a bad day or working extra hard, I take them out to lunch. I do different things where it's like, I know a couple of these guys have been here forever. I'll go out and, take them out individually, or get them like raincoats let me back it up. One guy that he's like, man, I have my money spent on other stuff. He's got the money to do it. I went out and bought him work pants for the week. And the most appreciative thing, I went out of my way to get his size and did all that stuff. And it was cool. Like, and that's more heartfelt than just what we should be doing. Like I didn't have to do it. I felt like it was needed to be done because I want them to know that we give a shit.
Yeah.
Because we do give a shit.
We do.
And it went a long way. Those little gestures, and not saying that I have to look for those things and do it. It's just in my nature. I felt like, man, you got a hole in the back of your pants and you're only covering up with basketball shorts under it. That's not good. And it's not just that one person. It goes for everybody else.
Yeah, no,
like
I mean,
whether
you've
it's
done
shoes to whatever.
You've done shoes for everybody. You've done Ruth Chris for everybody. You've done taking them out, out in town and done all that kind of stuff. It's important.
Yeah.
It's important. I think that people really mess up. And again, I'm speaking from my experience. So like, it may not apply to you all the time, but I think everyone will be better off if you can go beyond the 9 to 5 and get the buy-in after 5 o'clock to go do something special that they wouldn't normally do. That's huge. Like, that means a lot. We all have stuff going on. Our time is precious. It's, we like to think that, just because I own a roofing company or you're the manager of a roofing company that, we got too much stuff going on at home or whatever that we can't do anything else, but we can, and so take that time and go spend it with the people that either A, are going to make your life better, make you more money, or bring more enjoyment out of your life. And so those are the guys that would clinically be at the bottom or whatever, the grinders for you. Take them out and show them appreciation. I don't care if you own a lawyer's office or whatever. Take the paralegals out afterwards. Show them a good time. Spend the money. You can't take it with you. If you're a doctor, the nurses, I know a lot of times they do. They're really good to them. If whatever, if you work at a restaurant, take the time and take all your people out. Go somewhere. Show them that you care outside of 9 to 5. Because anybody who thinks they're anybody shows them love at work. That hardly takes any effort at all. You're already at work doing your job. Yeah. If you can show love after work, and when most of the time they need you, because 9 to 5 you can forget about your problems at home. After 5 o'clock, that's when the real world sets in, the harder world, in my opinion. Yeah. If you're there for them after that, when you clock out, that will speak so hugely to who you are as a person and who you're trying to be and what you're trying to accomplish. Like, if you're wasting your time we're having a luncheon today to show you how much we appreciate you guys. Guys, I understand if you don't have the money doing and stuff, but if you have the money, do something special. Like, I remember, it was just weeks ago that I did a baby gender reveal for Zach, and I got a motherfucking helicopter to land in my front yard, and before that, drop pink powder in the air. And invite all of his friends over and bought $500 of Coney Island. That's what's important. That is what's cool. Yeah, he's my friend. And I, if he wasn't even working here, I would do that too. But it's even more that he works for me and I show him love. That's super important. And I would do that for a lot. We got a guy driving a car right now because his car broke down. Two of them. I mean, we got one that you gave your personal car to. Your personal car. Yeah, you have a company truck. You gave me your personal car for him to drive around. I give them my personal vehicles. That speaks so hugely to what kind of person, what kind of manager you are, because you probably made it to that manager level because you're probably a stronger person. I'll say it. It
takes a different
the people
grit
that are strongest usually rise to the top. We have the outliers or just sketchy people and that lie, cheat, and steal their way to the top. But usually I would say the better people rise to the top. The people that have their shit together, you would say, rise to the top.
As much as we can do. I get, not too much credit.
Well, no, I mean, I want to be honest. I mean, there's a reason why some people succeed, where others fail, And you may not have your. I mean, I remember a time where I didn't have my. I mean, my own dad fired me from
Everybody.
my
yeah.
own dad fired me.
Everybody's
from
got
the
a story.
company.
Yep.
Everybody's got a story like that. I mean, probably not get fired from their own dad, but everyone's got their story.
But you learned a lot from it.
I learned a lot from it, but it made me stronger, and things like that.
He knew what he was doing.
So, so not only to just show everybody that you're stronger, because that's one thing, and maybe that's why you're the best person making pizzas, and you're the manager now because you work so hard and you make the best pizzas, or you're a delivery driver and you're just so efficient with your time, and you bust your ass getting those loads undone, and you're out of there and you're home every weekend, and that's why you get paid the most per mile or whatever like that. Find a way to give back to the people around you that make a difference, and I promise you it'll come back tenfold.
Oh, 100%, because you see those memes. It's like you work so hard only for your owner to buy a Lamborghini, and what did you see out of it? Paid vacation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. It's just, it burns them, and it doesn't matter how like you feel about it. It's how they feel about it, because they're looking outside in. Not saying that they're any less or whatever. It's just they don't know how much work physically, mentally you put to get to where you're at, and you shouldn't have to explain it. But the best way to make sure everybody feels important is to share it. And that's what you do best at. And I talk about it a lot on how much time and effort you put towards our outings, like our, anniversary, to our combat ops night. And I tell my guys, I'm like, hey man, we are here to set up for your families and your significant others to show appreciation, to put up with you putting these long hours in, all that good stuff. Let's pay it forward and allow you to have a night on us. And it's awesome. And hell, not to mention the Christmas party. That's insane. That's
the Christmas party rivals anything.
It gets better every year. I got invited to it, and people were looking at me like, what are you here for? Like, I know you invited me on, and I'm deeply appreciated that you invited me on to share the experience. And
yeah, you came to, even when you
I
didn't work
didn't
here.
work here, and everybody's like, what are you doing here? And then they asked, and it was funny. But I understood from there the culture, and it was very beautiful to see like what gets done during those things. And it's kind of just, I don't know, it brings the kid in you that when that time comes, you get giddy and you go all out and like, hey man, what I want to do,
bro.
And you did it.
If I was 18 years old and someone handed me a multi-million-dollar company, how would you run it? I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go get $50,000 worth of prizes and hand them out.
Yeah.
There's money left over.
It's awesome.
I can't take it with me. I don't need any more money.
I see the guys talk about it all the time, that one of my guys won a 70-inch TV. What is it? What month are we in? June? He's still got his 46-inch TV behind that 70-inch TV.
Nuh-uh.
He hasn't moved it yet. Yeah, he talks about it all the time because it's funny. It's,
So he's not using the big one?
He's using it. It's in front of the 40-inch
Oh,
TV he had on the table. He's like, whatever. So it's hilarious. So it's the memorable stuff that you're able to share and, bring out to these guys. And a lot of these guys haven't been exposed to that stuff, and, hopefully they can do it on their own. And that's what we're trying to, convey as like an opportunity to be. And there's more to life than just grinding all until you die. There's a better opportunity for us to be here, and there's a lot of growth and just different things for us to move forward.
I think you do a great job. I want to point out, you do something so much better than me, because work is my life. Like I would love to say that, family's most important, and it is, but, or friends, or, other
You have a specific
hobbies
tick.
or
You have a
anything like
specific
that.
tick
Like,
for
I
that.
am
Yeah.
driven like none other, but you do a really great job of putting in the extra hours, but also clocking out and doing whatever makes you happy or your family happy. And I really,
It's hard.
I really find that interesting because I can't switch off. If I'm not doing anything, I'm doing work. If I'm at home and there is an hour lull between the baby's taking a nap or something, I'm like, I'll just go to work for a little bit. Like, how do you balance the work-life schedule with such a demanding job?
It's tough. We've had our ups and downs, and definitely had to set the right expectation on what's to come, why we're doing it. It's a lot of selling why I'm doing it. The why is the biggest thing. What we're in it for, just the freedom of being able to, make the money that we made grinding 70 hours a week and still maintaining that. We have goals, we have all kinds of things to get our kids where we need to be, and I think that's a good selling point for the household. And it takes a lot of having a good partner too, and understanding that it's not a lot of people are like that. Not a lot of partners are willing to accept that, hey, I'm gonna be gone for like 80 hours a week, don't expect me. If they don't have the right expectation, it's really hard to do that. I mean, at some point, like, and God bless her, she would balance the salon, and like, I never touched a thing, not to dishes, not to laundry, not to even the lawn. Like, she did it all because she knew what I had to do every day to put, even, just to sacrifice, even, truth be told, we kind of put our lives on the line, and she gets that because we're up there. Sometimes shit happens, whatever. She appreciates that. Well, once you find someone that appreciates what you do, there's no stopping you.
So then, follow-up question, and I think we run into this a lot, so want to talk about it. We've had people that the spouses ruin a lot of jobs, or a lot of opportunities for people, especially the talented ones, because of the neediness, or because of they don't see the same dream and the same picture. How do you paint a picture for your loved one, whether it be your mom, your girlfriend, your wife, your family, your kids? How do you paint a picture when you go, I'm gonna put all my chips, I'm all in on this, we're going to go one spin, I'm gonna put all of my chips in this? How do you get them to go, I get it, do what you got to do, make it happen for us, I'll see you in a couple years?
So, and I think you've shared that perspective also in a way. It really all depends what you're willing to fight for, what your end goal is. Exploit the struggles. That's the biggest thing. Like, look at us now. What did it take for us to get here? Like, how much did we had to sacrifice to get here, or have to sacrifice? And, and kind of paint the picture of the end game on what it would be. Like, financial freedom is everybody's goal. And, watching you go through it's kind of a Cinderella story that most people can't gravitate towards because of, man, like, my heart broke when you talked about Roscoe's birth. Like, to know that, man, if it were me, I'd be fucked. I'd be totally fucked. But to know that, man, you can take off a whole year to take care of him and cater to him and be there for your family, that's something you can't trade in.
Yeah.
You're buying time. You know what I mean? And I think you said it too. If you can spend 3 years in jail to know that you're set for life.
Yeah,
I would totally do it.
I love doing that theory of, like, because it just, it transcends like the actual stuff. Like, if you knew that you could sacrifice 3 to 5 years of your life to be financially set forever, would you do that? And there's so many people that think that they would do that.
Short term.
Faced with the thing that they wouldn't do it. Like, I don't care what you do. If you find a way to exploit the openings, the opportunity that you have in whatever business thing, or you see something, go do it. And go send everything to it, because if you don't, you're probably gonna regret it. I've noticed that of even past things that I've done. I was like, oh, I could have actually been like the best chef, or I could have been blah blah blah. Exploit, put everything on the line. There's some people that, when it comes down to it, it's like family's always going to be more important. They'd rather clock in and do their 40 years of work and then retire and, live modestly and do all that kind of stuff. I love that. I love that. at the same time, if you feel like you're at a precipice, you know, if you feel like you're made to do, if you feel like you have a calling at some point, and it doesn't have to be this laissez-faire, I want to work for myself and be my own boss. That is such a
Cliche.
a story that has been sold to you. It's so much harder than what you think. It's so much harder. I'm not like a white privileged guy being like, just don't want to be me, you know. I'm not saying that. Worked out for me. But I'm saying, like, if you have a dream and you have a way to attain that, and all you have to do is sacrifice years, do it. Do it. Sacrifice everything. I've sacrificed a marriage. I've sacrificed houses. I've lived in a trailer owning a multi-million-dollar company because I knew that I was destined to do this, and I'm all in. I took no time for myself, any of that stuff, let everything fall by the wasteland. I was going to make sure this company took care of me and I took care of it, and it has. From day one, if you have any mechanical inclining, or if you're really good with computers, or if you just have something like flooring, or your girl is so many talented in so many different things, but like
Crazy.
interior decorating, people are willing to pay her to go all the way to Georgia to decorate an Airbnb. Put everything off and put in everything into that. If someone's willing to do that, there's other people out there. Do that. If you possibly can, do it. If you think you can't, get around people that can tell you that you can and listen to their advice.
That's very important. You get around people that are going to experience it with you, because a lot of folks will give you the bad juju that you don't deserve, and you take that for granted. Or no, you don't take it for granted. You take it and run with it, and it ruins your whole path of wanting to do good for yourself. And it goes along with everything. The people that has never walked in your shoes or have no desire to take your path give you that fucked up impression that this is how you should be. Now, I'm not going to do that, and this is how I need to be.
Yeah.
Be you. And I'm glad you brought up your path. It reminded me of something that, you know, you've instilled in me, and I've taken it to a whole nother level. Pride is something that's made up.
Oh my God.
So made up.
I've never talked about it on the podcast before.
So made up.
Talking about it.
So made up. Pride is a thing that you've instilled in yourself that is based off other people's shit. Other people's shit. You lived in a fucking trailer where there was nothing here, and I remember you telling me about, like, you had to get a bucket of water to flush the toilet. Here you are. You know what I mean? Like, the shit that you had to go through, most people be like, no, whatever, and kind of goes along with some of my guys. And I say that they're privileged because their cars broke down, they can't get here, they're late to work because they can't find a ride. Guess what? Be privileged enough to not have to take the public transportation bus because you've never fell in that category. You've done well enough for yourself to not get to that level. Let's continue that and drive forward, and just be thankful for even your car broke down and you still have to find a ride. That's okay. But you found your resources.
I find that the people that are that's getting held back, the talented people that get held back, their main source, if it's not their spouse or anything like that, is pride. Mm-hmm. It's such a hard thing.
It's a hinder
to swallow. When I let go of my pride, like, my life got better, my friends got better, my family got better, my work life got better, because it's so much easier to be the same person all the time. Like, the same person, like, if you're wondering what is like off the podcast, the same fucking dude, the same fat white privileged dude. It's the same all the time. Like, if you can give up that I'm this dude and I'm doing good at this and I'm gonna be the best, you know.
You have to upkeep that facade, and it's not good.
God.
It's not good.
It's such.
I've watched you close
hindrance.
deals. I've watched you close deals, like broker deals. I've watched you deal with people, and I've seen all the pride go away because you handle it like a G. Like, it's very admirable. I love seeing it.
It's easier to be on the level. Just to be on the level.
That's
Pride.
it.
I've seen it. There's a competitor in town, and he really would be so much further on if he had someone tell him like, dude, you don't have to do
Ego
this.
out.
You just
Ego.
you don't have to drive the brand new Ford Raptor. You don't have to buy all the motorcycles. You don't have to have Wolf of Wall Street posters in your office and tell everyone that
People are
going to
go, why can't I have that? Where's all the money going? Yeah.
That's, if you just let go of pride, you'll be so much more successful. And it's like, it's even hard to explain like how it will impact you. But let's just say on the lowest tier, clean the bathrooms. On the lowest tier, mow the grass. Whatever they think is the lowest part of your company, go get the coffees. Go sweep the floors. Do that kind of stuff because it fills a need and it's what people want. You're making the next level happy, whatever you do, and then people can count on you for being that guy. You're not the dude. I'm just coming in here and I'm doing X. Like if you, let's say I use Subway a lot for some reason. I don't even eat Subway, but like let's say like you make the sandwiches, and then someone goes, "Well, our dishwasher called off." You're like, I don't do wash dishes, bro. Like I'm a sandwich artist, bro.
Yeah.
Like I make this art happen. That's holding you back. That is such holding you back. You want to run shit. You actually want to run shit. Do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything. Don't pigeonhole yourself to one thing. Like you're really good about that too. I mean, like you'll do anything. You don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, sometimes I find myself I have to quote unquote flex my abilities, and I have to show them that I didn't just get here by just like reading
you
a book.
Didn't fall into this.
No. Like
There's no college for this.
Yeah, there's a reason why you're learning what you're learning, because I went through all this stuff. And like if I have to show you by doing it, I'll do it. And I did that in sales. So it's a great story. I talk about this all the time, and I have a lot of stories when it comes to this side, but everybody always wanted to challenge me on my abilities to sell stuff. And I read numbers, stats. That was my thing on seeing like your abilities, what your max out is, and all that good stuff. And I was selling phones at the time, and quota for phones for new ads were like 30, 35, and per month. And I got moved up to assistant, all that good stuff. And one of my reps that just hot shot driven just said, I'm gonna smoke you this month. I was like, go ahead, that's fine. And he didn't tell me that he had a walk-in from the school that wanted 17 lines. And I was like, okay, your best month was 56 phones and you got 17 lines, or let's say 50 phones, 17 lines, you would wind up at, 67 phones at best, because I know your abilities. My average month was 80 phones. I could do that in my sleep. So I go, hey man, and I was doing this to more encourage him and get him to go above his means or whatever.
Because you didn't have to sell phones.
I didn't have to sell phones, but I had it. So I jumped in and I go, hey man, I'll bet you my commission check that you won't beat me. And I threw it on the line. Now he's like, no, I don't know about that. And I go,
thousands of dollars.
$5,000 a month.
Jesus Christ.
On average. Easy. And I go, I'll bet you my commission check. He's like, no, I won't do that. I was like, I'll even make it sweeter. You don't have to lose a dime. Just try. He lost to me by 11 phones because my average was a lot greater than his, and I knew what his abilities were capped out at. On top of the 17 phone laydown, I just knew that I had him, and I gave him every bit of motivation to do that, but he didn't take it. Not everybody would do the same. And
pride will get you in a weird spot.
Yeah, it did. And I was hoping
he tried to knuckle up on you.
And then I called him out, and then he backed off, and I knew I had him. And then I said, hey, I'll tell you what, you don't have to forfeit anything. You can just take my commission check if you beat me. Never did. Never did. So it's just, it goes to show who's willing to put in that extra grit to do it. And he showed me who he was. And that sucks to see. But, not everybody's going to do that. So you got to accept it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I can ask you questions that aren't rehearsed. Like, who cleans the floors in the factory?
You or me?
Who details the cars?
You or me?
So, like, it doesn't matter the things that make you no money are sometimes the most important things.
And this is where pride comes back to us.
Yeah, don't. Well, I mean, like, there's pride and there's bad pride. Like, don't.
Right.
I want my guys to be in a clean box truck and not smell like dirty socks. You know, I want my guys to appreciate what we have. I want the customers that come in here to look at our factory and go, "This is the cleanest factory that I have ever seen," and it is. It's the cleanest factory.
You prep for the unknown. You never know if they're going to show up.
If you live in the area, come see the factory. Like I promise you that it will be.
Everybody that comes in,
and it's because I cleaned it. It's because I cleaned it, and we're gonna do it, and we always gonna keep doing it. That's a level of shit that I do. Like, don't just go, well, I'm not gonna do that because I'm this manager,
X or whatever.
I'm this position. I'm president, CEO. I'm not gonna. You will always find that the people that are the most successful. I always watch Undercover Boss, and I'm like, I can't even relate to this because those dumb sons of bitches that are like CEOs and presidents and board members that go on that show and they like learn how to make donuts or they learn how to sell surfwear or they whatever they're trying to get into, they have no fucking clue.
Not a clue.
How to do any of that stuff. Like, you see them struggle. It's part of the show. It's like, whoa, what an
how
idiot.
to use this mop.
What an idiot doesn't know how to use a forklift or whatever like that. You're like, bro, how did you get there? Mm-hmm. You know, how did you get there? Like, that's amazing to me because I don't know anybody that I surround myself with that doesn't know how to do all that stuff. Yeah. I know people that aren't the best at those things, like me. I know I'm not the best at running front office stuff. I know I'm not the best marketer or the best salesperson or the best person at manufacturing or the best installer or anything like that. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I like, how did you get there? Like, that's amazing.
You bring a great point up because a lot of folks that like thrive on the fake it till you make it, there's someone that's going to smell your bullshit.
Yeah.
Someone. Doesn't matter. And then once they smell your bullshit, they'll exploit it to everybody.
Yeah, and then you'll have nothing again.
Nothing.
You'll have nothing again.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything exactly how you would want it, even if you don't get paid for it.
Yep.
Even if you don't get paid for it. And that's such a hard thing. Go the extra mile. I don't care if you're cleaning hotel rooms or doing whatever. Like, you go above and beyond.
Be the best at
Put your eyes on the next spot. You know, put your eye, if that's not what you want to be, you know, put your eyes on the next spot. But, like, do whatever they're else doing, find a way to do a little bit better. Find it. There's always something. I promise you there's always something.
And I teach this to my guys a lot, and I learned this throughout the sales, but just even teaching my guys to show me that you're better than the next guy, because that will help me put that highlighter on you and know that to watch you, to embrace and keep building you up. It's called don't drop the baby. I've learned this like throughout the years. It's don't drop the baby is a propositional value term that, you know, you have a baby in your hand and you got a step of ladders or a series of ladders to climb. But in order to get to the next step, you have to make sure your footing's secure and take that next step. Like, if you don't have all your eggs in a basket, all your stuff that you've learned or you had to do or all the chores you had to put forward, don't take that step. Wait till you get all your shit done before you take that step. Because if you take that step and it's soft, you're going to drop the baby. And that's a big thing. That's the big thing that I've learned, to where, like, if you're asking for a raise, you're asking for anything that's worth a shit and you have zero propositional value, don't ask. Like, you feel that you deserve this raise. And I had a guy ask me for a raise when he no-showed. How is that going to play into that factor?
You dropped the baby.
You dropped the fucking baby.
You dropped the baby.
You dropped the baby hard. And it's one of those things that where, like, it's very important to build yourself to have credit on being able to have that conversation. If you try to have that conversation and you're either a deadbeat or a turd or whatever, it's hard to believe you.
Yeah.
You're full of shit. You know what I mean? Like, you have a lot of cats that come in and out of here that, like, man, how did you make it in life without living in jail? You know what I mean?
It's
like,
amazing.
It's amazing. Like, a lot of these guys skate through life that should be spent in jail for the rest of their life. And not saying that that's a bad thing, but they chose the right path or the wrong path every time. And it's just whether it's right or wrong for them, that's what they believe, and that's just, it kind of sucks because everybody's just trying to make better for themselves, and they're just getting in the way.
They get in their own way, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. What's the number one reason we fire people here?
Oh, that's tough. There's a series of things of either complacency or they don't buy into what we're here for. Because whether they want to believe it or not, they always compare it to their old jobs. Why they quit their old jobs. They always bring it on. And I try to do my best on showing them why we're different. And, you know, please don't compare us to why you quit your last job or why you didn't thrive or why they were mean to you or whatever. I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and give them a second chance, if you will. Because a lot of folks are getting second chances. They're coming here. And, you know, if they can't cut the second chance, it's really hard to just say, hey, man, I'm going to keep carrying on with you. So I fire them. And like, hey, man, this is not the forum to grow with us. And they understand it. They get it. And it's disheartening at the same time. It takes a little bit of me out to it because I'm a very passionate person. I try to...
Soft.
Yeah, whatever. Soft, if you will. But I feel like it's an important trait. I do have to work on that soft side a little bit. But I feel like it's a adversary for me that it helps me out on getting in touch with everybody. And, you know, balancing that out is tough. Yeah, that's the only area that I feel like I need to work on. Is just I buy in too much of their bullshit.
Yeah, it's very... Your why and what you're doing this for has to be stronger than whoever you're leading.
I agree. Yep.
If you let them take over and destroy your why and they don't buy into your why, it's going to be very hard to keep that relationship up.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't care who you are or what you do. It's going to be hard. The buy-in for you has to be real. And if it's not, don't do this. Whatever you're going to do, don't do it. If you're like, I'm going to be a carpenter, I'm going to make the best cabinets. You're like, I hate cabinets. I don't really want to do cabinets. And I hate working with my hands. Don't do that. Because when you try to hire people to work with you, they're going to sniff that out. And they're not going to buy in. That being said, if you're the most passionate cabinet, don't hire anyone that's not super passionate about working with their hands and crafting custom cabinets and doing that kind of stuff. Like, make sure that their why is in line with what they're doing, you know? We talk a lot about like what's important to our employees and like whether it be flexibility in schedules, whether it's like the in-house promotions, things that we do, whether it's making a lot of money, working a regular 40-hour work week, versus a 40-hour work week, or back and forth. Like we want to make it work for you, but the only people that make it is the why is correct. They come correct and they go. They either do it for me or they do it for you or they do it for the company, and they carry that on their shoulders. You know, if you're having trouble hiring people, a lot of the times it's gonna be because you're not hiring these people that have the same dream. Like it's gonna be so hard. I mean, it's so hard. You're gonna have jobs for like McDonald's. You know, like it's gonna be hard to find people that are super passionate about making food every 30 seconds for a new person. You just need money for a car. You just need money so you don't have to live with your mom anymore. Yeah, like right. I get it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if they're doing it for the wrong purpose, it's so hard to keep those. It's why a huge turnover. Have you been through a drive-through lately? Oh. Have you ever got the same person?
It's
so
hard.
rare.
It's so hard.
It's so rare to have the same person because you
almost have to expect the low quality.
You do, because the why's not the reasons the why's not there. You know, it's not the same message that they're giving to everybody. Find something that if you find yourself working at an RV factory or doing something that just doesn't give you great pleasure doing it and things like that. Don't do that. There's other jobs. I promise you, whatever you're getting paid, you can do other stuff. Go be a welder. Go do, I don't know. Go work on oil fields. If you
detail cars.
Detail cars. Yeah. Do whatever. I got a guy that details cars for $100,000 a year.
Yeah, he's awesome.
You know, like, do whatever. I don't care. Like, there's so many different jobs that you could do. Put yourself in an uncomfortable position. That comes back to the pride thing. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions. If you don't like where you're at, do something else. You will eventually find something that you will be either good at or you will like to do that will carry you throughout the rest of the things. I mean, it's just, you can be a good person, you can, you can like different things, and, but like eventually you're going to have to find something, that you're going to like to do. Don't be 50 years old and regret working at a job for 30 years that you don't like. And we've met those people before, like the people at the factories, the big ones, and we won't name them, for obvious reasons, but like, if their heart's not in it and they just can't leave because the benefits, or they're worried they won't get the same pay.
That's all they knew.
That's all they knew. You're gonna turn this screw. You're gonna fasten this bolt. You're gonna do this tire. You're gonna attach this steering wheel. Whatever the thing is, you're gonna do that forever. And in 30 years, you're gonna be like, oh, I had so much else to give back. If you're like, hey, I want to have good benefits for my family, and I want to be home every day at 5:00 and whatever, and go coach my kids baseball. If that's what's most important, that's fine. I support that 100%. But if it's not what you love to do, it's probably going to outweigh the minor conveniences of doing all that. And that's why I've tried to tell other people that work here is like, be the 9-to-5 guy if you just want to do a good job and go home. That's fine. But it's certain people that you see coming in, they're like, hey, do you got anything else to do? I can work on the truck, I can clean, I can blah, blah. And like, those are the people that usually, off the clock, that are going to probably do a little bit better, just generally. Because like,
the mindset's different.
That's how we are.
Yeah.
That's how we are. I can't tell you how many times I'm here every day, but like, I can't tell you how many times I've just seen you here and been like, what are you doing here? Like, oh, doing some stuff, me and the wife are just out, and we're doing stuff here, whatever, like that's so huge. Like, if you don't have to be at work and you're at work, like, someone's gonna notice that eventually, and if they don't, leave. Leave, go do something else.
Yeah.
If we bring it back to roofing, let's talk about switch gears a little bit. We talked a lot about good and bad stuff with employees and outlooks and stuff. Let's talk a little bit about what are the most problems that you find, or the hardest things to overcome in installing a roof?
Oh, yeah.
Puts you on the spot.
Yeah, first time problems, or just like problems in general. I mean,
what houses are the hardest? Let's put it that way.
The houses that are the hardest are the high-pitched oones, because it's really hard to keep your balance, and everybody's got to get roped off, and it takes a little bit more time for balance and carrying these 15-plus foot panels to balance and, even grip. That's probably the hardest. The steep pitch, obviously, that's the only one, and a lot of these folks that I bring on, they're afraid of heights. I mean, I was one afraid of heights, and I felt like that was one of the things that I overcame quickly, because it was all in my head. I had a handful of fears, and I tell my guys all the time, like, there's the fears that you can overcome. You'll just be able to run through life with ease without any concerns, whatever. My 3 things that I was afraid of, deathly afraid of, because it was instilled in my head from other people: guns, motorcycles, and heights. I've overcame every single one of those.
Now look at you.
Yeah.
You're the most red-blooded American I've ever met in my
Exactly.
life.
I keep that thing on me.
Yeah.
I own a Harley, and I roof. Like, it's one of those things to where, like, man, I let people dictate what I truly enjoy. Like, I enjoy the roofing side of it because I like feeling that I'm very few amount of people that would be willing to do that and do it well and show people how to do it. It's even better because I can, exploit to them things that they were shown, or they are shown, that no one else will show them. No one comes out of high school going like, I want a roof, because everybody talks shit about it. It's not, somebody's got to do it. No one says, hey, you got to be a garbage guy, but someone's got to do it. Someone has great gratitude for doing those things. And there's a place for everybody in every aspect of it. There's no downgrading of any job that's out there. I love being able to say like, hey man, the Roto-Rooter guy is coming over to clean out all the backed up shit for fucking 3 miles worth. Like, that guy, I applaud you. You know what I mean? Like, and to some degree, he enjoys it because he knows at the end of the day he helps somebody out, or she. You know what I mean? Just the roofing side is just it brings a different level of joy to me because I can show these guys how to survive, thrive, and make a great living at it.
Yeah, I think there's two things that you really like about it, and I'm just speaking from outside looking in. One, the transitional value of you literally like giving talent to dudes that need a skill, right? So if you flip burgers, or if you are a painter, or you did something that was just like, dude, do this and this will be the product. Like, if you want skilled labor, like you're taking people that are unskilled and making them skilled, you love that. You love teaching them to be like, dude, this is what you do now. This is who you are and what you can do.
You live here now.
Yeah, you live here now. Don't leave. Two, the finished products. Like, I know that some part of you loves completing things.
Oh God, all my guys look at the house at the end of the day like, I did that shit.
So much better.
I did that shit. It's awesome. I felt that, and I wanted to share that with everybody. If you don't feel that, man, I'm gonna have to consider why you're here. Just, I love that shit. That's why, like, going into it, man, this is the shit show of a house. We got to tear off so many layers, and just wait. Let's go through the process. And people don't understand, and they give up so quick on the process. The process is what everybody's always intimidated by. And just showing that and delivering it, people eat that shit up. Like,
so before
I
this
love it.
iPad dies,
Yeah.
what does it take to get a house to go from like that to this?
Man, it's a mix of both, man. It's just, we got, different levels of people inspecting it, going through it. Obviously we have our salespeople showing on, why they need it, because obviously it's going to leak and it's going to, wear their house out over the years. And the home is always the biggest investment for anybody. And it's just, your home is where you hang your hat, and the home is where you feel comfortable, and you thrive and reset and all that good stuff. But our people that go out and check out the house, they show that, hey man, let's educate you a little bit, and let's show you that, dude, your roof is not up to what you need it to be to continue on with this. And I'm very appreciative on the grit of the canvassers going out. It's crazy, dude. It's the canvassers are just like the spam calls that are coming out. Those guys need all the accolades. I can't speak to it enough. But those guys,
it starts out, canvassers go out there and find this roof that is in dire need of repair.
Dire need, yeah.
And then we knock on the door, and then a salesperson comes out and informs them on the best products and what we do here. And then you guys show up and do some boss level stuff.
Yeah, we know what's going into it. So we know that we have to deliver the best experience that the customer can have. Like, and once we get there, I usually call them, a couple days before and chat with them a little bit. Any questions, concerns, and they talk about, well, this is happening as far as like we got the dish back here, or where the materials at, or if they pulled in all the accessories in. We get it all ironed out. So we're like a team when we go into it. So the customers and our group are totally in unison.
On the same page, yeah.
It's great. So when we get there, we're welcome the minute we get there. There's a lot of folks that it's crazy to hear and see, but a lot of folks, they get cookies out for us. They get drinks. They get a Keurig out there set up for us. They're excited, and they know what it means to them. So just showing our guys to know what it means to the customers that, man, you're making our home secure and protected. You can't take that away from anybody. And just putting that on and making it not only protected, but beautiful. Shit, they can show it off to their friends, and it's just game over. Because, when you buy a house like that, that's a beautiful home, beautiful property. You show off to your friends.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You show off to your friends. You take a lot of pride in that, and we got to be able to back that up. If we shit the bed, man, they put all their chips in there just for only for us to shit the bed. That's not cool. So we do our absolute best to make sure we know that we're going to deliver the best experience ever. And hell, we could, be subpar at installing it and be slow and all that good stuff. But as long as we like connect with the customer and move forward, they will understand why we shit the bed, as far as like obstacles, as far as replacing the wood or having to fur shit out and do all that good stuff. They understand, because if you have to fur it out before they even know what's going on, they question it. And that's the biggest thing that I run into. Like, why you got to fur it out? My house is perfect.
A lot of times you'll show up to the house and it won't be as directed.
It's not.
And you have to think on the fly of how to get the best service to the customer. Because a lot of times you'll have chimney like, hey, man, you're going to need to get this chimney repaired. Or your house isn't straight. Like, it's going to look messed up if we put panels on here. Or, hey, you have more layers than originally quoted. Or blah, blah, blah. And then you overcome that so quickly and conversate with the customer so that they are underneath the same impression that you are, and they can be up to date on all the things that you're doing. And I think that's such a huge part of doing what we do. Our metal roofing process is just like, we will overcome the obstacles either through the custom manufacturing that we do here in-house, or the stuff that you guys figure out on the job site. You guys will get that job done to the best of your abilities every single time.
Yeah.
No matter how many times it takes to come out and take a shot at it.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I share with all my guys, you got to learn how to relate. If it were you, how would it go? And I say this a lot, and I share this a lot. And even going back to, and I know I refer it back to my cell phone days, a lot of people can't relate to a $300 cell phone bill. If you had to compare it to someone that's still living at home with their parents and only, paying $50 for a cell phone bill, you don't understand yet. You know what I mean? How can you sell someone with a family at $500 and be confident about it if you haven't walked that walk? So I always try to paint that picture of like, hey man, if you own this house and you wanted to put Christmas lights on, are you willing to accept what you just installed for this customer to see as they walked up here? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then second guess what you just did. So that's why it's important for me to always paint that picture when they're installing the roof. Because a lot of folks, they just install like it's a...
We're going to come out, we're going to put a roof on, and then we're going to leave.
Yeah, deliver it, call it a day. But if you really feel like it's not that great, think about him or her putting Christmas lights on and looking at it and be like, dude, what the fuck did you guys do here? You got to be able to explain it. If you can't explain it, then don't do it.
I would like to make this part of the podcast where if you have questions about metal roofing, if you have questions about installation, if you have any of that stuff, I'd like to know. I'd like to know what to talk about, and this is a good introduction to Mari and what he does.
Absolutely.
And I really do think that we'll get into next time more of the certain aspects, like what we do differently than other people when we're installing. Get more visual stuff going on, so that way that you homeowners can understand a little bit better about our process, and the people that are in the game can either relate to or find other ways of doing stuff, or they might even be running into the same problems that we are and how we overcame those. So if you have any of that stuff, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, any of that stuff, you can reach out to us. Tell us what you want to go over in the podcast, and we'll address that, and we'll give you the most up-to-date information that we can possibly do. Again, Mari, thank you for coming on here and
Absolutely.
talking about all your stuff. It's always fun to hang out with you, and we'll have you on future podcasts as well. This has been another episode of Laugh Your Way to the Top.
Thanks, everybody.
It's being seen.